And here we go. So, topside map, we're going to have Forge Father on the left-hand side, on the Wigglytuff guild side, playing as that Force Commander. Going to be joined with Go Outside as a Lord General in the centre, with Legionator at the bottom as a Tech Marine. Can see some decent team plays with the Tech Marine being able to place down a beacon, allowing all teammates to retreat to the beacon. Can also see some turrets as well if he wants to be very annoying. Meanwhile, on EL's side, we've got Uncle Daddy on the top side as a Chaos Sorcerer. Can make use of the investments of the warp upgrade to try and teleport into annoying places or teleport over these walls or over terrain. Meanwhile, we've got a Lord General Mirror in the mid side as we have Imperium of Man going to be playing that Lord General too. And at the bottom side, we've got Abraham playing as a Elixir Alpha, EL on the red side, WTG on the blue side. See what happens in this particular game. In mid-side, do see a bit of grouping up. The Tech Marine is going to join the Lord General, but he actually makes his way back down again. He's going to end up running into the Elixir Alpha, going to be a bit annoying in the early stages of the game. Meanwhile, double Sentinels just going to be kind of facing off with each other. Lord General, though, going to try and force melee against these guardsmen. Lord General very tanky in the early stages of the game, being able to reinforce retinue models on the field. Does have 950 health to begin with, but can feel like quite a lot if he's able to reinforce retinue models constantly throughout the engagement. Storm upgrade has come in on the Sentinel. The Lord General is going to get caught out by that. And we do have some additional support coming around the corner as Forge Father is going to come in to assist Go Outside. One Guardsman squad is going to be forced off the Imperium of Man. The other one is probably going to get forced off in just a moment, and the Lord General trying to take cover here. But we do have the Chaos Sorcerer making his way towards mid. The Chaos Sorcerer himself has not revealed. He is actually on top of the BP instead. Meanwhile, the Sentinel is going to fall back towards the bottom side of the map. Elixir Alpha has already been forced off, or in fact actually no, is forced off the Tech Marine. Kraken rounds are getting used by these tactical marines, but they're not actually going to be very effective against these Termagons. They don't actually provide any sort of damage boost against them. We'll just do the same amounts of damage. Is more effective against heavy infantry, so when the Elixir Alpha does get some warriors or Venom Brood later on, the Kraken rounds will be more effective. Top side of the map though, blue team pushing in quite far against enemy power. EL are sending some units out base. The Chaos Sorcerer getting a little bit caught out there by the terrain. Doombolt's one of the abilities affected by terrain. You do need to be a bit careful where you aim when there is a level of terrain difference. If you're trying to fire up a staircase, you're probably not going to have the best of luck. You'll need to wait for the terrain to be equal or try and fire downhill instead. Bottom side of the map though, Abraham's Elixir Alpha taking a bit of damage. It's currently not infiltrated at the moment and is visible, so the Tech Marine is going to be forced into a retreat. And that power node is going to fall. Sentinel going to try and go in for a decap, is going to be denied that as the power node gets placed down at the last second. We actually have Abraham going to be sending his forces towards the top side of the map after pushing in quite far on the bottom side. Feels comfortable leaving the areas to join his teammates at the top side for a triple push. Warrior Brood going to be leaping into combat. These guardsmen are going to go down here. Sentinel Storm comes in at the last second, but some Homagons that were not stunned by that are going to come in for the chase, and the second Guardsman squad here is going to go down. Go Outside is going to be left with just this Sentinel, and Lord General going to be having a bit of a sparse army for a bit of time. We'll have to rely on his teammates to try and carry him until he can get an army replenished. These Devastators trying to set up as best as they can, but when facing 3 armies, they're going to get overwhelmed very quickly. And this is a massive push coming in here for EL. They should be able to push as far as the Generator farm and should be able to take it away from their opponent, either smashing it completely or even capturing it for themselves for a short amount of time. Heavy weapons team going to be set up here to prevent any sort of flank here from Legionator. Does send his army more towards the bottom side here as the army just floods into the center of the map here. Ooh, groups up still. Working as one. Raptor is going to jump in, going to land suppression against these tactical space marines. There are some scouts ready to go, but already using their shotgun blast, not having enough energy to throw a grenade down. Sentinel for Go Outside is so low, down to just 30 HP, is able to scrape on out of there, just barely though. We need to get that repaired. Does actually replenish one of the Guardsman squads that was lost earlier. And we do see a bit of pressure coming in from the top here of Forge Father. He's actually going to force off these Homagons and will try and do some decent damage to these Termagons. One Generator will fall and the Guardsmen are going to be forced to back away here for Imperium of Man, as they are now lacking some support, but a big Doombolt hit does catch out those tactical marines, does soften them up quite nicely. And he is going to just warp on out of there. Meanwhile, Uncle Daddy actually choosing to go even further, does take down the power node. Does also have some assistance here from Abraham. Barb Strangler upgrade on these warriors does suppress with each hit. Can be quite annoying to play against. It's actually going to be a decap here. Looks like they might try and secure the enemy generator farm for a short amount of time. At the very least, neutralize it, denying the enemy team a power. Wigglytuff Guild going to be lacking in a bit of power there in comparison to Emperor's Loyalists, who are currently on 2 generator farms all full and also have the power node at the top side of the map. Sentinel is going to go in here. Sentinel is a detector, so we'll be able to see these infiltrated units of Uncle Daddy. Did hear a grenade sound go off. Grenade is actually going to go down here. It's going to miss the army. Warrior Brood and Termagants are going to avoid it, and the red team here, Emperor's Loyalists, actually going to put a power node down. Capping the power for themselves, going to have a spike of power income. If they can actually hold this power for a little bit, they will have a massive advantage come tier 2, being able to afford more expensive power-hungry tier 2 units, or can utilize that to try and go for a faster tier 3. Raptors are going to get forced off. We'll be able to get away with 3 models, and we do see another power node get placed down. Once again, this does cost a lot of requisition to keep placing down on a constant basis, but Tactical Marines are able to start getting a decap now, and will be able to reclaim their power. Force Commander on his own, just kind of sitting behind that green cover. Should probably remain behind that green cover. Will not be able to go up and fight that heavy weapons team. Has used the battle cry to start fighting these Termagants, but is a bit low. Termagants are actually going to be able to finish him off there on retreat. In fact, they actually back away at the very last second. He gets away with 15 HP. Could have potentially killed the commander there from Wigglytuff Guild. And then could always leave your army in the area to deny them from reviving them. Chaos Sorcerer and Lord General also going to bug out the area as well. Looks like the Sorcerer may have gotten a res there on the Lord General, given the position of these 2 commanders away. Neither of them are level 2, so unlikely. 383 VPs, 363 players are taking up to tier 2 on either side, with the exception of Legionator and Uncle Daddy. So far the game is looking fairly even. Sentinel going in a bit aggressively here, is trying to take fire here from 2 Guardsman squads. The Sentinel though for Imperium Man also equally as low. Both Sentinels decide to have a gentleman's agreement and back out the area. Heavy weapons team is set up once again, but units are spread out quite far, going to struggle to suppress everything at the moment, and with the Guardsman squad retreating, Tacticals and the Sentinel are going to be left by themselves. Heretics flooding in here as the Raptors lead the engagement. Tactical Marines also forced into retreat. Stomp still on cooldown, most likely here, before it go outside. Now, I see a bit of a push coming in from the top side. There are some Noise Marines here for Uncle, so we could actually see a big power bash coming in if supported by his teammates. I should have the Thunderhammer upgrade going in here already for Forgefather, not having any of this melee superiority here from Uncle. These 2 Heretics though are going to bleed a couple of models, and on the bottom side there's a nice little setup going down here for Legionator. Should be able to advance against this power, especially if the Tyranid army is going to be sent upwards on the map.
Target acknowledged.
Chaos Sorcerer there going to need to be a bit careful there. He's going to go in for the decap, but that Thunderhammer does a lot of damage per swing. Does teleport out there with 1 hit remaining. Again, the decap is quite nice, and DC the Chaos Army is just going to try and push through, but these Heretics though do not want to fight that Force Commander. The Force Commander is going to demolish them. Heretics actually infiltrate their way up to these Devastators, but the Heretic squad is going to go down because of it. The Devastators will just win in melee combat as the squad is so low. Sacrificing the Heretics there in order to break the setup of Forgefather. Unfortunately, that does not matter, as we do have some assistance from outside coming in with some Plasma Guardsmen who will eat through that heavy infantry as if it was nothing. Chimera as well on the field, landing Devastators and Tactical Marines to reinforce, not that they currently need to. And we do actually have a counter push coming in on the bottom side. Tyranids did make their way down to defend power and also actually bash at the same time. Legionator all the way back in base is actually going to lose a couple of generators here. The allied Chimera though coming in for outside. Guardsmen are going to vacate and fire away, but again a bit blocked here by this wall. Need to be careful about not getting too close to this Warrior Brood. Barb Strangler will easily suppress both Guardsman squads if not careful. You can always try and micro in and out of that Chimera to dodge shots, although apart from in this game it makes it a bit harder to rely upon Generator farm was placed down here by red team, but hasn't been placed down for very long. Already getting burnt down. Tactical Marines equipping the Flamer as well. Tactical Marines do have the ability to change weapons later in the game, unlike other units, although it can be very cost inefficient to swap weapons if you're not making use of all of them. Flesher going to pull in that Tech Marine. Do actually have a Melter Gun upgrade for the Tech Marine. Very uncommon to see this early on in the game, maybe in response to the Chimera on the enemy side here for Emperor's Loyalists. Elixir trying to walk up to this Devastator squad, going to take far too much damage and will be forced to back away. The Lord General going to be equipping the Melter Gun upgrade as well. When activated with the ability, does grant your allies 30% increased rate of fire. Does help provide a lot of damage. These Devastators may be best to equip a last cannon to counter this Chimera on the field. You know, the Chimera for outside, having to take a bit more of a defensive position as the Sentinel is equipped with that missile launcher, and the Lord General with the Melter Gun upgrade will also deal some decent damage. Sentinel chasing in a bit too far. It's going to be forced off. The Melter Gun from this Tech Marine though, working out big time, is able to get some shots. One more shot, this Chimera will go down. Big losses here for Imperial Man, losing 2 vehicles. A grenade on retreat as well, nearly wiping a Guardsman squad. Is forced off, does push in a bit too far, does overstay his welcome. And on the top side of the map, we do actually have Dreadnought versus Dreadnought here. Melee Dreadnought for Forge Father. Both Dreadnoughts, in fact, actually in their default configuration. Chaos Dreadnought coming with that also cannon by default. Space Marine as a Melee Dreadnought. Could potentially see a Mark of Khorne upgrade come in for the Chaos Sorcerer. Meanwhile, Sentinel and Dreadnought in need of some repairs. Legionator on the blue team does also have the global Blessings of the Omnissiah. Does allow you to repair all allied vehicles on the map globally. If these players are in Discord together, they can always call out that ability to get used should the Tech Marine Legionator have sufficient red to do so. That Melter Gun working wonders for the Tech Marine so far, able to take down some generators as well as that Chimera earlier on. It's just going to sit there and bash in power. Does also have the Signum Armor, does allow you to mark a target and increase the amount of damage it takes, and that is a nasty plasma shot there. The amount of units just killed. Abraham a bit too grouped up there. The Dreadnought is going to be upgraded with Mark of each upgrade. Actually shreds through that Chimera. Going to deny some reinforcements on the field. This map though particularly great for Plasma Devastators. We even see a Blastmaster on the other side to kind of simulate what plasma damage can do. These long-range setup teams are just so effective on such an open space like this. The Mark of each Dreadnought may actually finish off that Sentinel. The last missile actually misses though. May try and chase it down. There is a bit of path blocking going on from the allied Dreadnought here. Wigglytuff Guild may lose a Sentinel due to this blunder. It is trying to run away as best as it can. The Mark of each Dreadnought is chasing. Going to get some decent damage on, and it doesn't actually get the fire on the Sentinel. We'll need to be careful about chasing too far. Meanwhile, some more Plasma Gun shots here, or Plasma Devastator shots, going to force the Guardsmen into retreat. Do have Commissars as part of their groups. They can actually break retreats if needed. Meanwhile, Tactical Marine is chasing a bit too far. The Blastmaster going to hit some terrain there, and it's just going to be both squads backing away. Blastmaster and Noise Marines can always focus fire ground as well, so if they see these scouts going in for a capture, they can deny it. They do actually decide to pull away, realizing that they're going to get hit there. Meanwhile, we do see the Elixir there, fully upgraded for Abraham. Going to be doing some decent damage. Does also have the Lone Hunter ability as well. Does allow him to do more damage when he is by himself. Markham's each Dreadnought getting a bit low at the moment. It's currently back in base for repairs. Or not even being repaired, but currently back at base anyway. Meanwhile, that Elixir just being incredibly annoying. On the top side of the map, just trying to pick off units where possible. Another generator does fall here. Tyranids pushing in very aggressively. Meanwhile, no accessory for the Tech Marine as of yet. Chaos Sorcerer just chilling down here. Plasma Devastators and Blastmaster Noise Marines have not re-entered the field yet, but we'll need to re-enter the field soon. There is so many Guardsmen that will make an ideal target for either side. Water Cannon going to catch out that Sentinel. These Assault Kit Stormtroopers getting a bit low, but we'll be able to get out with just a single model remaining. That Water Cannon doing some decent work. These Guardsmen pushing in into the radius of it. Getting absolutely torn to pieces. do see a barrage coming in from the Marquezine Dreadnought. Is going to miss. Was cast at maximum range, but the guardsman already retreating out of the area. He's actually aiming to suppress his ally instead. We do have a creeping barrage. In fact, there's a rocket run. That guardsman squad is incredibly low. Should be able to get away. One of the models, in fact, both squads do get away, including the heavy weapons team, able to just about reinforce in time thanks to the replacement Chimera on the field. All players for Wigglytuff Guild, all tier 3. Meanwhile, on the EO side, we'd actually have Imperium of Man still the only player to be tier 2. The Chaos Sorcerer Uncle is also going tier 3 himself and will be ready soon. This Dreadnought, though, getting hit with everything. Last cannon out of range, but the Marquezine Dreadnought is still in range, is able to finish it off. We do have last cannon firing at that Dreadnought, though, but some worship does come in, which will infiltrate it. I hear a Plasma Devastator shot winding up. It's going to be a misfire, however. Guardsmen have re-entered the field. Blastmaster shot, maybe doing a bit more friendly fire damage there than looked like it took a big chunk there out of those homogons. We do have a call-in. It's going to be some Terminators. There's going to be a creeping barrage outside. Currently, Imperium Man, sorry, not tier 3, so no rocket run for him at the moment. 285 VPs, 255, a lot of action just taking place on the mid side. Both teams are quite desperate for this mid VP. These Blastmaster Noise Marines do need to be careful of the terrain, accidentally doing a bit of friendly fire damage. These heretics are going to fall down, getting picked off by these Terminators. We have the Assault Cannon upgraded as well. Terminators do inspire upon killing. So they also lose too many models. A Flamer could have also been a really good choice here as well, given that there's a lot of Guardsmen and a lot of models on the field with low health. The Flamer can tear through them quite easily. An attempt by the Chaos Sorcerer was made to try and resurrect that Lord General, but did fail to do so as there's just too much damage coming in from the blue team. Plasma Devastator is going to try and set up here. Looks like they're going to set up to try and cover this bottom VP at maximum range. This Termagon Brood going to just get completely annihilated there. That shot from the Plasma Devastators doing a big chunk of damage. Terminators will need to be a bit careful. They are half health at the moment, and these Guardsmen are armed with plasma guns, so we'll be dealing some decent damage against their armor type. Terminators may need to go back to base to heal up a little bit. Force Commander aggressively trying to lead the charge in here is going to take enough damage and will actually get picked apart there by that Dreadnought. Blastmaster Noise Marines do need to be a bit careful about their targets. In fact, we actually have a Guardsman squad going to go down there. These Blastmaster Noise Marines, the shots do hit units on their path, so you don't want to stand in the path of their fire, as you will get knocked onto the ground. You do actually have Tyranids coming in with the Endless Swarm there, going to bring in some additional squads. Grenade plus the Plasma Devastator shot. The heavy weapons team will need to be a bit careful. Second plasma shot will miss, and some homogons are going to tie up these Devastators. Level 3 already. They are retreating away and will be able to get away successfully. Red team are going to try and go in for the decap onto the VP. We do have some Stormtroopers trying to do what they can, but the Signum armor is going to mark these Stormtroopers, so they have to get out quickly. Chaos Sorcerer is currently in control of some units, but I'm not sure where. He does actually teleport Terminators forward, in fact. With the teleport wasted now, thanks to the Chaos Sorcerer, it does give Red team an opportunity to try and finish off the squad, but Orbital Bombardment is going to come down, going to annihilate these setup teams here. One Orbital Bombardment per setup team. Chimera bugs out the area, not wanting to get hit with that. All squads should survive, although saying that the heavy weapons team gets thrown into another bombardment. All squads will live, but all squads have been interrupted, allowing blue teams to advance a bit further and secure their foothold in the centre of the map. Land Raider Redeemer is going to come in. Looks like it just crushed that Chimera there, but that's just a coincidence. It does allow blue team to reinforce and retreat to this unit. Chaos Havoc's there a little bit low. We'll need to go back to base. Down to just one model and 87 HP. These Plasma Guardsmen will easily finish off that squad if they do target it down. Stormtroopers behind some green cover here, going to engage against these Guardsmen. Blastmaster is going to set up once again after reinforcing from the Orbital Bombardment. He's going to misfire there as the Guardsmen do leave the Arc of Fire just in time. Plasma Devastators are set up here, but again, both teams are staying just outside the arc there, unable to fire. We do actually see both both setup teams are going to advance a bit further forward. In fact, the Plasma Devastator is going to set up in such a way that they actually cover the boss and VP instead, as Tyranids were pushing in. In terms of resources, Abraham, with loads of power, could potentially see a Swarmlord or Khan effects get saved up by him. We do actually have a little bit of a push here from red side. The Guardsmen and Stormtroopers pushing in. Blastmaster and Noise Marines gain a nice shot onto these Guardsmen, but they're just going to reinforce a bit too quickly to finish off. The Mark of the Ancient Dreadnought is low, but is actually going to make it outside the arc just in time. Blastmaster's hitting these Guardsmen point blank there. It looks like it got caught on one of the models. We need to be careful about where those shots land. We want Tech Marine bashing power once again. This Melter Gun has done quite a lot of work this game. Don't see it as often due to how short range it is. But it's definitely paid for itself in this game, taking out the Chimera and taking out plenty of generators. Blastmaster Noise Marine set up behind terrain, however, a lot of the shots are just hitting terrain. We need to potentially reposition them into a more open space so that they can actually fire a bit better. And GG is getting called in the chat. The VPs are taking down triple cap here for Wigglytuff Guild. They are going to win game number 1 here. 285 VPs 2-0. Able to secure that foothold in mid and hold it throughout the entire game while also doing the same top and bottom. Quite a bit did die that game. Coming in with like 450 odd kills or so. And jumping in, game 2, same players as before. Abraham switching it up to Brother Captain, Uncle Daddy switching it up to an Apothecary, and Imperium of Man going to be sticking with that Lord General. Meanwhile, on the Wigglytuff Guild side, we do have Forge Father going to be changing up to a Tech Marine. Previously, Legionator was the Tech Marine. Legionator going to be swapping that up to a Lord General, and outside going to be swapping from the Lord General to an Apothecary. So we do see 2 Space Marines, 1 Imperial Guard for Wigglytuff Guild, but all players kind of swapping out their heroes for each other's almost, with the exception of an APO being swapped out for a Force Commander. 2 APOs either side, plenty of healing to go around. We'll see what happens in this game. Map very, I suppose, different in comparison to Kafari Ruins. Kafari Ruins having different levels of elevation on top side. On the top side here it's very flat unless you do go into the far corners of the map, not that most players tend to do so. A lot of action does take place over a single VP, and you have a natural VP as well, so games on SCA do tend to last a little bit longer in comparison to Kafari Ruins. Scout model game picked off there by the Strike Squad and Imperial Stormtroopers, or Inquisitorial Stormtroopers. A lot of builds that we do see involving Grey Knights of recent. We do see the Nemesis upgrade to improve the melee damage, melee skill and melee charge of a Strike Squad. Likely see the same sort of thing with Abraham in this game. Can also be paired really nicely with the APOs. The APO can provide additional support to that Strike Squad, healing them up. As this is a Clan Wars game, we would like to see some good teamwork from all the players as opposed to a random 3v3 game. And annoyingly, Tactical Marines just going to sit inside that building. Strike Squad going to be unable to really do too much, just standing there with their pole arms that are ready to go, but can't really do too much other than that. Inquisitorial Stormtroopers can be upgraded with a Sergeant. It does allow them to throw a grenade, however unlike most grenades, the grenade doesn't actually do as much damage. However, it does have the benefit of not having a fuse or a time to go with it. Brother Captain for Abraham going in a bit too far is actually going to die due to the flank of the Legionator. This will relieve plenty of pressure here for Forge Father. Meanwhile, things looking fairly neutral on the top side of the map between Imperium of Man and go outside. Sentinel Stomp going to come in here. Legionator going to be able to plough his way through mid. APO going to heal up those Tactical Marines on retreat, ensuring that no models do go down. They are very expensive to replace. Do not want to lose them where possible. Do have some Devastators getting ready to defend this power node though. Sentinel Stomp has already been used, but Sentinel can still try to flank, though it's a bit too risky to do that. Meanwhile, Strike Squad going to get forced off, and there's that Nemesis Focus upgrade getting placed down already. Strike Squad will struggle a bit though without the Brother Captain to provide that support. The battle cry from the Brother Captain does provide additional movement speed, I believe, so definitely need that when you want to try and engage. And Scouts with their shotguns will make a nice melee counter. Tech Marine can also equip himself with the Bionics upgrade for a further melee counter against that strike squad. Meanwhile, Power Bash coming in here. Although a flank coming in once again from Legionators. The first flank was quite brutal, but the Sentinel is going to get caught out. Game half blocks on those Guardsmen will fall down. Guardsmen were not repairing at the same time as well, and the game half block like that is going to be the death of the Sentinel. However, Guardsmen staying in a little bit too long. Imperium of Man going in very bravely there with the Sentinel. It's on 500 HP, should get focused down by the Wigglytuff guild. Could potentially try and take it down. Sentinel is going to try and bait out Stomp. Stomp will miss, comes in a little bit delayed, but is going to be able to make it alive safely. You know, on the left hand side, we actually have the Apo coming in for a res. The Apo solo does use the heal on himself. The Apo can use the heal on fallen commanders in order to res them, so you can res commanders from range, something to keep in mind if you do play the Apo. Meanwhile, you have the double Nemesis focus upgrade build that we've seen from a lot of players of recent. Devastators are ready to go, but Devastators do get tied up by the strike squad. However, they are very deep and will be forced off, as the base turrets even are going to focus them down. As mentioned before, Tech Marine could potentially equip the Bionics upgrade just to make it even more of a brutal melee counter. And Bruv Captain is going to get repurchased there by Abraham. However, it could have also been potentially done here by Uncle. The Apo does have the global ability. Lariman's Blessing does allow you to repurchase commanders using red only, allowing you to save requisition. Does work for allies as well. If all three commanders fall at the same time, you can res all three with the single press of a button. And we do actually have interesting build here for outsides. Actually decides to opt for a sniper upgrade for his scouts. Can be nice at trying to pick off the Sentinel. Sniper shots do immense amounts of damage to the Sentinel. However, scout models do cost power to reinforce when you do have the sniper rifle upgrade, so something to bear in mind. Purification Vials here for the Apo for outside. He does get in the perfect position for a throw. Does land a good throw here. And that is pretty devastating. These Guardsmen do retreat away. However, this damage over time may be enough to kill the squads. 10 HP on both models. In fact, this one's on 5. ASM were unable to finish the kill. If the ASM did do a second jump, they could have finished off one of the Guardsman squads there. But a hefty amount of damage has been dealt there by outside. Tactical Marines cracking rounds have been activated, increasing damage dealt to heavy infantry. As we sit behind that yellow cover, firing away. Devastators are set up on both sides, and Purification Vials as well for Uncle. Guardsmen are making their way towards mid there. The Cassicians getting a little bit low. Will be forced away as the strike squad charges into combat. The Flamers on the Guardsmen not the best equipped to handle a strike squad. It means that they have to get into closer range to use their Flamers. Lord General now going to be the next focus. Strike squad should be able to force off these Guardsmen as well. The Guardsmen are not really dealing enough damage to them. Ideally need to wait till tier 2 to get the plasma gun upgrade to counter them even further. And we do see tier 2 now for all players, either upgrading or already at tier 2. Start seeing some vehicles approach the map shortly, with the exception of the Sentinels that are already on the map. ASM going to jump in, but the Lord General there does have the armor that does prevent knockback to the Guardsmen when activated, so the ASM do jump in, but not having quite the impact that you would normally see. Will be forced off as the Guardsmen are just able to freely fire upon their jump in. Apo though going in, he could get Purification, but Guardsmen are going to try and run past it as best as possible. However, one squad is going to be caught out, and the poison is going to spread a little bit. But overall, not having quite the impact as we saw earlier, where it nearly took out 2 full health Guardsman squads. Apo trying to do what he can, but his default weapon doesn't really deal the most damage in the game. Does get a really nice special there, getting a nice domino knockback, but scouts are forced off, and the Apo on his lonesome is going to struggle to win the engagement there. Another special, but not going to be enough to turn the tide of the battle. Will be forced away. Does mean that Imperium of Man can push in a bit further, can try and go for some power on the top side. Meanwhile, on the contested VP here, do see a bit of action between both players, but a power bash is imminent. Tactical Marines are going to go around to the other side. We do have the plasma gun upgrade here. Very effective in the Space Marine mirror. The plasma gun just does a immense amount of damage against heavy infantry armor. 362 VPs, 461. Red team with that slight VP advantage by 100 points. See if they can continue that into tier 2. vehicles for everyone. We have a Whirlwind, a Chimera for both Imperial Guard players, and a Rhino on the field. All light vehicles so far, nothing too heavy. Imperial Man gained forced off there. We do have Legionnaires just going in for a big push. Could try and bash power there. Does have the Flamer Guardsman, so can tear down this farm fairly quickly. There is a Chimera in response though from Imperial Man, just sitting at base, ready to transport these Guardsmen and back into the fight. With the Sentinel still in the field, we can see the missile launcher upgrade come in, giving it some anti-vehicle damage. Can be very effective against small vehicles, such as transports. These double plasma guns taking out 2 models of ASM at the same time, they're quite brutal. Could see the APO equip the power axe as well later. It's actually going to fall down, but the Royal Captain is fairly close by for a revival. Tech Marine also equipping the plasma gun, but is going to fall in that engagement, and the plasma guns are just going to be the death of everything here. The amount of damage that they are both dealing to each other is pretty insane. Suppression comes in. Allowing these tacticals to freely fire there, could potentially pick off a model. Kraken rounds do get used, does also increase damage of the plasma gun as well. And one model was going to fall down there. Rhino on the field, equipping the assault cannon there, going to be very similar to a Razorback. Does deal quite a lot of damage, I believe it's about 60 or 55 piercing damage in fact. Whirlwind going in maybe a little bit too far here, does need to be careful. Does have the anti-vehicle missile that it can use. Does use it there in fact. And with the Melter Bomb here from the ASM, that Razorback, or that Rhino, sorry, was very short-lived. Standguard veterans approaching the field as well. Mind Blaze getting used on these Strike Squads, and Strike Squads will be able to win the engagement, but the Rhino loss there is quite big for Abraham. Whirlwind will retreat back to base. Sentinel has been upgraded with the missile launcher, so can try and make a bit of a chase against this Whirlwind. But the entire generator farm here will fall for Wigglytuff Guild. A flank going to come in here for a Legionnaire. We do see the knockback community get used. The Catachin's grenade barrage is going to fall flat completely, and the Guardsman squad will go down. Catachin's even will go down there. Big losses for Legionnaire. We do have 2 Stormtrooper squads on the field, so can make plenty of use of those, but losing 2 squads in that engagement is going to reduce the size of his army by quite a bit. Apo is still on the ground there for outside. Does have enough red though to res his commander though, using the Laraman's Blessing global ability. But as he's so close to base, maybe deciding to save that red and wait for the Lord General of Imperial Man to come in for a res instead. Oh sorry, wrong teammate. The Lord General of Legionnator to come in instead. Destroying push though from Emperor's Loyalists is fairly brutal. 1 Stormtrooper squad even being upgraded with the Melsa kit. Can try and snipe this Chimera, but he's going to struggle to sneak in there. The Sentinel is a detector, however it is a short range detector, so you can try and avoid it. So we'll see if they can make use of that. Brother Capstan is rezzed by the Apo. Apo is very low. The Apo himself may go down. ASM don't jump far enough to finish him off. These Tactical Marines getting a little bit caught out there. The Tech Marine is enabling his rapid fire, and he's just tearing through the infantry here. Takes down 2 models. Signum Armor marks the target, increases the damage they take even further, and 3 Tactical Marine models die there for Uncle. That's going to be quite expensive to replenish. And we can see a power bash coming in. Even these Devastators force away. Not much they can do when equipped with a last cannon. Merciless Strike from these ASM, not very effective, as the Lord General has given knockback immunity to the Guardsmen in the surrounding area. The Merciless Strike, you ideally use it for the knockback, allowing you to do some damage to units. 1 strike squad here for Abraham, a little bit low. Should probably back away before losing any models to the Sniper Scouts here on the field. Sniper Scouts actually trying to focus down some Guardsmen, or potentially the Chimera there. Chimera has taken quite a beating. We'll need to back away potentially for some repairs. Whirlwind can also try and hit it with its anti-armor missile if it hasn't used that already. Meanwhile, Forge Fire is just going to be pushing in against that power there, and is actually going to tear it down completely. .90 VPs, 461 Wigglytuff Guild are going strong in game number 2. With that VP advantage, Emperor's Loyalists will need to make a big push either for the natural VP or for the contested VP in order to try and secure their place in the game. Melsa Stormtroopers are going to eat the Sentinel up. Stomp comes in, but coming in a little bit too late. One Stormtrooper squad may go down. The other model is quite far away, so in fact, they actually get away with 2 models, quite surprisingly. Overall, Wigglytuff Guild are going to have to give up that fight there, but taking down the Sentinel is definitely going to come in handy. Whirlwind, though, doing some work. As much as Lord General has the armor to give it knockback immunity, you cannot have it activated all the time, but if you do activate it in a big fight like this, Whirlwind is not going to have as much effectiveness. Lord General forced away, but these Standguard veterans are being healed up quite a lot by the APO here. And with these damage over time rounds coming in, quite effective, but Standguard veterans without any sort of green cover to make use of, they are very limited. ASMs are going to jump in, but are going to miss their jump, but are going to go straight for the Chimera instead. The Melter Bomb is thrown down. The Guardsman retreats away. There is no repair support for the Chimera, but there's nothing to really follow up the Melter Bomb that's been placed. Chimera will be able to make it out there safely. Meanwhile, tier 3 now coming in for the players. We do have a tank coming in here for Emperor's Loyalists. Meanwhile, we have Terminators for Wigglytuff Guild. Terminators, though, going to back away using their teleport. ASM needs to drop a model head. Whirlwind's going in very aggressively here. The Whirlwind you don't typically see drive in this far, and we'll start backing away though. These Sniper Scouts have taken a lot of damage, will fall. Whirlwind actually is able to drive up and snipe the Chimera. The Scouts were lost in trading of that. Activation of the armor comes in a little bit too late there for Lord General. The Guardsmen do get knocked over, does buy the ASM a bit of time to deal some damage, but overall the ASM are going to lose this engagement. There's just too many Guardsmen firing a bit too much, but Purification Vials are thrown down, is not noticed. However, the retreat comes in just in time. With the Purification Vials getting... Oh, wow, nice snipe there on the Predator by these double Melter Stormtroopers, and with a Demon coming in, this is quite brutal now for Emperor's Loyalists on the contested VP side. So Purification Vials, if Purification Vials do get thrown down on your army, you can retreat straight away to negate a lot of the damage. A lot of the damage comes from the damage over time, which is piercing damage. So if you retreat away, you do actually reduce the amount of damage taken. Something to keep in mind when you're about to eat a full grenade shot. Devastators are set up here, however the Lehman is not forward enough, and these plasma guns from the Tech Marine and Tactical Marines are just going to a bit too much there. Grey Knight Terminators have been called in. However, they only deal power melee damage, so Chimera is going to be able to get out there quite easily. Meanwhile, this blob of Guardsmen, though, is just fairly scary, especially when they're all firing away. 126 VPs, 452. Wigglytuff Guild in a strong position, still have plenty of time if they do lose a bit of ground to regain that said ground. Terminators are going to go in, but Lehman is firing away. Lehman's doing a lot of damage to the Chimera itself. Terminator's taking a lot of damage though from some Melter and Plasma weapons. The Lehman though, with its Executioner Cannon, is just so good at AoE damage, and a lot of healing's going on, but a lot of damage is going down. These Guardsmen are just potentially going to go down to the damage over time. We'll be able to get away. The APO healing coming in from Uncle is going to be enough to keep him alive, just about. Brother Capstan kind of just standing there, and we do have a bit of an awkward fight in the mid-side. Just sure Stormtroopers will go down, but as we hit tier 3, they're going to be a little bit less relevant anyway. Meanwhile, Orphan Bombardment is going to go down. It's going to catch out the army of Forgefather, but overall his army should live. A few models here and there will go down. Terminators, though, still very healthy with like 4,000 HP remaining. Vanguard veterans have hit the field. Power Fist upgrade straight away. Does mean that they are more effective against vehicles, but you do lose that special against infantry. And overall, Wigglytuff Guild just holding their ground here, still in control of this left-hand VP. So still in a good spot. Even having a generator farm here on the contested power in mid.
We shall make it so.
Meanwhile, Vanguard veterans is going to be forced off here. This Guardsman blob going to be a bit too much for them to handle, even if they do get into melee combat. I do have a generator farm here for Emperor's Loyalists. A lot of power being purchased in this game. Paladins, though, have been called in to try and capture this VP. They're incredibly tanky with 5,400 HP. Going to teleport in very aggressively as well, going to try and get what they can, but even Russ with the execution there, dealing plasma cannon damage is incredibly effective against this super heavy infantry armor type. Guardsmen with plasma guns, tactical marines with plasma guns, the tech marine himself with a plasma gun. These paladins by themselves without any support are going to struggle in this engagement, are going to back away 3000 HP. You know, the Vanguard veterans trying to use the Merciless Strike once again, but not going to be very effective as all the Guardsmen are immune to knockback thanks to the Lord General buffing them. They will be able to tear down the entire Generator farm, some more Terminators for Wigglytuff Guild, another Assault Cannon Terminator squad in fact for Wigglytuff Guild as the upgrade does come in. Forge Father still has his Assault Cannon Terminators on the other side of the map, and a nice whirlwind knockback catches out the entire army, but Terminators are still forced to back away, having taken too much damage, waiting for the Assault Cannon upgrade to finish. Things are getting desperate on this side. Strike Squad is too low. We do see the Signum armor has marked these Paladins. These Paladins not being able to retreat away will lose a model, may even lose a squad if chased far enough. 2 models do go down. That's going to be quite an expensive reinforce there for Abraham. Crystal Stormtroopers still in the field, still quite low. And Wigglytuff Guild just gonna admire this VP at the moment. GG has been called. VPs have ticked down, and Wigglytuff Guild going to take game number 2 as well. Does mean that they are currently 2-0 in this Clan Wars. I'm not sure if it's a best of 3 or if we move on to the 2v2 and 1v1 games now. I'll have to ask Rambo for clarification on that while we sit here in the loading screen. Okay, so we're going to be having another 3v3. So essentially it's done based on points, I've been told by Rambo. So essentially EL can still earn a point for winning this next game. However, Wigglytuff Guild could just go 3-0. And I'll give Oceans an observe slot. So we're just going to be waiting on players to jump in the lobby now. Okay, so you can see everyone's like in the lounge at the moment, and it looks like they're all leaving the lounge to go into their respective chats. So we should see the players jumping into the lobby fairly soon. Just need a map choice now from these players. Typhon Arena is always a good one, but I don't see it as often anymore. So, players might be discussing what map they want, I guess. I do not know. Grastark. So while waiting for players to ready up and pick their heroes, just a announcement, I've been casting some Elite League games. Definitely be sure to go onto YouTube to check out a couple of those casts. We'll be uploading the Faction Wars stream as well, should be up on Thursday, as well as the games between Torpids and who's Torpid playing against? I can't remember now. I think it was the Moors. My memory is pretty poor these days. Anyway, players are starting to ready up. So once all members are ready, I will start the game. Okay, all players are ready to go. We'll be entering into game number 3. Wigglytuff Guild have won the first 2 games of the evening. That does mean that they are 2 points up. However, Emperor's Loyalists do have an opportunity to win a game themselves to earn a point, which will factor in a bit later on. Entering into game 3, we do see some more commander changes going around. We do have Imperial Man now switching up to a Brother Captain. Uncle going to be going back to the Chaos Sorcerer that we did see in game number 1, and Abraham going to be a Lord General. So each member of ER, I believe, has now been a Lord General. Meanwhile, on the other side, outside, going to go to a Lord Commissar, Legionator going to be a Warp Spider Exarch, and Forge Father going to be a Warlock Wigglytuff on the right, and then Emperor's Loyalists on the left. See what happens in this game. In team games, Warp Spider can be really fun to use. Does have the ability to get the group transport armor, allowing you to take you and your teammates with you to a particular point on the map. Can be countered quite hard though by a well-placed grenade, however can definitely catch your opponents off guard the first couple of times that you do use it. However, if you do become a bit too obvious in the way that you do use it, can be easily countered. But even really nice as well for just a bit of extra group mobility. Also, Elder being able to make use of webway gates as well, very effective with your teammates. Your teammates can make use of the webway gates, even if they can't place it down themselves. Strike Squad just being very aggressive, chasing in. Meanwhile, engagement here on the bottom side of the map, the Warlock is going to use the Destructor. Doesn't look like it's done too much damage there though. He will jump in. Meanwhile, some Doombolt's going to get used and does some horrendous damage to these Dire Avengers there. Now solo, the Chaos Sorcerer should be able to pick away a model per swing. Does get a special there, probably when he didn't want a special, and the Chaos Sorcerer is going to fall down to these Banshees. However, it should be a fairly easy position for the Lord General to get res, especially as Emperor's Loyalists are pushing back Wigglytuff Guild on this side of the map. A second set of Banshees come in. Potentially could finish off the CSM squad. They do get a special, but the special maybe hurting them more so as it knocks the Chaos Space Marine model further away for them to swing their hits. Heretics are now able to close the gap against these Dire Avengers. Some more Doombolts going to come in on that newly risen Chaos Sorcerer. Overall, Wigglytuff Guild are pushed back. Emperor's Loyalists are going to continue pushing their way through, pressing the advantage there on the bottom side of the map. But on the top side of the map, we do see Wigglytuff Guild are going to secure the entire top side there. Get a decap on this fully matured requisition point, securing the VP, securing the power node as well.
Support structure complete.
Noise Marines are going to be the next purchase there for the Chaos Sorcerer. Could see a Generator Bash come in. Noise Marines can make their way down this path here, which generally isn't kept an eye on, and then could try and go in for a bit of a sneaky bash. Alternatively, Chaos Sorcerer can always use the Citadel of the Rift War Gear upgrade to try and transport his Noise Marines to the back line to try and bash power, or try and use it to try and pull in some enemy units. Sigil can be used similarly to the Warp Spider's group teleport, can ferry entire armies across certain bits of the map. However, once again, do need to be very careful about your usage. A well-placed grenade can put an end to that. The masses of Dire Avengers, they're going to force off the army of Abraham, not wanting to have any parts of that. Meanwhile, IST, maybe triple IST in fact here for Imperium of Man. Some guardsmen have been executed. When executed, you cannot retreat away, so you need to hold your ground or try and walk away very slowly. That Brother Captain, though, getting affected by the stomp, is potentially going to go down, but is bravely staying in the fight, allowing the Strike Squad some additional time to get in without taking too much damage. The Commissar trying to do what he can, but with his default weapon, default armor, still going to be enough to turn the tide of this fight. That Sentinel now the target here. However, the Commissar is still fairly healthy. In fact, he might be able to turn around, does take down a Strike Squad model, and there are some Elder coming in from behind. Mind Blaze getting activated, granting extra melee skill, but decides both sides will just pull back, deciding they don't want to commit any further. Meanwhile, on the bottom side of the map, Emperor's Loyalists going to be pushing in, do have Noise Marines leading the charge here, will be able to tear down that Journey to Farm. Wigglytuff Guild going to be forced onto the defensive here. That Journey to Farm is looking pretty tasty for the Noise Marines. And it looks like only its Forge Father here to defend. Noise Marines also having the ability to silence ranged infantry upon firing. Doesn't prevent any ranged fire, does also prevent any ability use, and that's going to be a dead Dire Avenger squad. Retreat is not one of the abilities that is blocked, but Dire Avengers may have wanted to try and throw a grenade or may have wanted to try and do something else, but were blocked by these Noise Marines and remained in the fight for a bit too long. And that's going to be an entire Journey to Farm falling to the hands there of Daddy and Abraham. Man, that feels like a weird name to keep on calling out. Meanwhile, we do have a bit of a flank coming in from Legionator here. And to try and wait, by the looks of it, for Forge Father to come back out of base. However, this army is grouped up pretty tight. It's going to be a bit of a difficult place to push. We do have the Immolator on the Warlock, going to be very good if the army remains quite blobbed up. And this is actually a really nice position here. We can see some retreat grenades. Heretics will use their grenade barrage to try and interrupt this. Those Heretics are a bit too healthy. Noise Marines going to be using their cacophony there, and with the army retreating in mass like this is a perfect opportunity for some Idilla level grenades. Guardsmen may just fall to the sheer range damage coming in here. Grenades are going to get thrown, but are going to be slightly misplaced there. Guardsman squad will still fall, but the Guardsmen, the other units will be able to make it out safely. Sentinel, 7 HP, will fall though to some Dire Avengers poking ahead around the corner. Castrians coming into the fight a little bit too late to try and save that Sentinel, but I think the Warp Spider would have been able to teleport further forward to try and finish it off anyway. Some Guardsmen trying to run away, another very low health Sentinel. Sentinel needs to back away, it's going to die to the Strike Squad if not careful. Some targeting needs to come down here from Imperium Man, 5 HP, will fall. Commissar unable to tie up the squad in time and gets knocked on his feet. It's actually triple grenade launcher IST there. And that Commissar getting specialed once again is going to fall down. Things are looking up here for Emperor's Loyalists in this game. Banshees will be forced away. The grenades are still on cooldown for these Dire Avengers. Don't even have the energy for it, using the remaining energy for the Fleet of Foot ability. Going to be a full retreat there for Imperium Man, unable to get anything further. And we should see a resurrection on the Commissar and the bomb side. One squad is very low here. In fact, that's the Brother Captain with just 7 HP, but not enough damage. Had Crackshot been used on one of the Dire Avenger squads, it would have been enough to allow the Brother Captain to die. Warlock going to be capping that contested power there. Uncle probably wanting to go and recapture that back.
Understood.
And do we have an Elder Command? We do have the Warp Spider in the area actually. He can potentially make his way to go and get resurrection on the Lord Commissar. Uncle going to come in for a single Journey to Bash before being forced into a mass retreat. Warlock on his lonesome, going to take cover there. Could always try and remain in the fight, can always use the Immolator on the ground, set it ablaze, and then just walk away, trying to deny the power even further, just for a bit of extra time. What's why they're going to go and resurrect that Commissar. Currently missing his head, it's currently stuck in the terrain though. But it is still there.
An ally has secured a power node.
Thank you, Astra Militarium 888 for the follow. Dire Avengers going to be pushing in here. Do need to be careful of these triple IST though. With a triple grenade launcher, they can easily burst down these squads. Strike squad is going to go in. Some grenades do get thrown down, but the grenade is actually going to miss the strike squad. I feel like it caught the Dire Avengers more so. Strike squad is actually going to get hit by the allied grenade barrage. Banshee is going to be able to get some suppression there, actually missing the IST there with that scream. One IST squad is going to fall to these guardsmen, but not before the Imperial Stormtroopers do get a recent burst there onto these guardsmen, bring them down quite low. Chaos Sorcerer, armed with the Sword of Flame, does do damage over time, and some Doom Bolts onto this army. These guardsmen are quite low. They are going to try and enter the Chimera, but not in time. That was a fully upgraded guardsman squad. Did even have the Commissar, the Sergeant, and the Plasma Gun upgrade. That's a very expensive loss there for outside. May decide to repurchase one guardsman squads come tier 2, or while in tier 2, and do actually see that straight away. 2 guardsmen are always better than 1. These Stormtroopers though, maybe being a bit too greedy trying to go in for the VP there. Guardsmen do need to be careful when leaving the vehicle. Your guardsmen are incredibly grouped up, so you need to be careful when up against grenade launcher based units such as Imperial Stormtroopers, or Inquisitorial Stormtroopers, sorry, and Heretics with grenade launcher upgrades. Banshees though, a lot of damage being dealt to them. Coruscating Flames getting used on these Heretics, but I don't think they can remain in the fight much longer. The Aspiring Champion Heretic squad will fall. Grenade barrage is going to go down to interrupt the setup team, but I don't think Chaos can push in any further. There's a lot of damage coming in. They are just going to go straight for the generator, and we'll probably go into a mass retreat now. Nothing to try and stop them from that mass retreat. Warlock taking a lot of damage there. These Catasins do power melee damage, so do need to be careful about fighting them in melee combat. Still a full generator farm for the top here for a Wigglytuff guild. I'm not sure if this, I mean, I imagine this has been spotted by the Brother Captain, but so far we've not had a response top yet. Guardian Weapons team going to try and set up here, but the Catasins are going to force melee. Are able to get a little bit of damage on the go. The Falcon is going to reverse in for some extra style points here. Does need to be careful about exposing rear armor. Chimera is going to have everything to load up, and it will back away. The Falcon does do a small amount of AV damage. The Chimera will need to be a bit careful here. Guardsmen are path blocking it a little bit. I think the Chimera is full, so the Guardsmen can't get in. In fact, they actually do get in, but the Chimera is taking so much damage. The Chimera is now going to expose its rear armor. Wraithguard try and get a shot in, and Falcon is able to chase it down. That's a very early Falcon loss there for Abraham, and he's now forced into a mass retreat. Legionnaires that can push through with this Falcon could potentially go for a flank up top there. Dire Avengers with the Aspect of the Avenger upgrade could see some retreat grenades. Blood Crusher on the field there for Uncoiled Banshees are equipped with the Aspect of Strength and do have the Exarch. That Exarch does have a Singing Spear, does deal heavy melee damage, very effective against vehicles. Even if the Blood Crusher does have that melee resistance, it will still take a significant chunk of damage. Blood Crusher forced into a retreat there. 275 VPs, 450. Could see a Power Bash come in with the Falcon. We don't actually have Legionnator's army did that actually leave that Falcon, and is into a mass retreat here. Chaos Sorcerer going for the generator. Could have potentially picked off a couple of Dire Avenger models there instead. We see one generator forward. Falcon deciding to back out, not opting to go for that second generator. But these Catasins, though, trying to chase the Falcon. They do have the Sergeant, so they do have a melter weapon to deal some damage to that Falcon. But Banshees swinging away there. One or two models were not caught out by the knockback. Meanwhile, blue team making a push though for the generator farm. It looks like they're going to try and capture it for themselves, try and turn the tide of the battle. They are behind on VPs, 275 to 446. Emperor's Loyalists will need every advantage they can get in order to turn the tide of this game. Tier 3 as well for 3 of the players on the field. Wigglytuff guild is going to have 2 players outside, and Forge Father now tier 3. In fact, Emperor's Loyalists now having 2 players on their way to tier 3 as well. Going to be Uncle and Abraham. Banshees swinging away there, but needs to be a little bit careful. Wraithguard will end up doing friendly fire damage if not targeting correctly. You know, the comps are a little bit low. No war gear for him as of yet. Still level 1 as well. Could potentially get the stubbornness upgrade to allow him to tank a bit more in the fight. Could also see a power sword upgrade as well to increase his damage against strike squads, or could even see the Xenos power claw, or even the Fist of Brockers now that he is tier 3. Lord Commissar will fall down in this engagement. desperately trying to hold on outside against two armies, but these Noise Marines firing away the Guardsmen, going to silence them, preventing them from firing at range, and some Plague Marines going to get another hit onto this Chimera. The Chimera is trying to path away as best as it possibly can, but is just getting stuck on its own units, and rear armor hit there from these Plague Marines is going to be the end of it, but we do have a flank coming in from Legionator. Grenades are going to get thrown onto the ground. They are going to get avoided by these Inquisitorial Stormtroopers. Could have tried to wait for a retreat there, but wants to deal the damage. Then a salvo from these Inquisitorial Stormtroopers demolishes these Banshees and these Dire Avengers. Banshees are forced away. Dire Avengers are just about reinforcing on the field. ISTs are getting a little bit low. They're trying to fall back here. Dire Avengers barely keeping alive there, just about out reinforcing the damage. It's very expensive to try and keep up if you're losing Dire Avengers on a constant basis. Blood Crusher not really had much of an impact this game. He's actually spent most of his time just retreating away or running away from this Falcon. Coming into the fight a little bit too late, but can still be very useful nonetheless. Outside with just two Guardsmen as his entire army, we need to be a bit careful. Leman Russ has been called in by Abraham on the bomb side, and when supported with these Guardsmen, it's going to be pretty rough. Power farm on the bomb though is going to go over to Emperor's Loyalists. They could have a massive power income spike here thanks to the contested generators from the bottom side and the top side. Wigglytuff Guild are making a bit of a dent still on that top side, and they are going to push in and retake over that power farm. Originally this power farm was built by Uncle, so they're actually going to reclaim that back for themselves after having lost control from it ages ago. Baneblade going to be summoned by outside. Seer Council for Forge Father. We enter it into tier 3. The two Guardsmen should be able to support the Baneblade fairly well, and the Baneblade should be able to secure the top side of the map, so we'll see how that does. Meanwhile, Blood Crusher back in the fight once again, but it's just going to aggressively charge in. There are two Banshee squads, both with Exarchs and both with heavy melee upgrades, so the Singing Spears should make short work of it, especially with the Falcon focus firing, and even a Bright Lance as well. There's a lot of AV. Blood Crusher does lead the charge, but is going to go down. Some Doom Bolts maybe missing, going a bit too far back. Wraithguard and the Bright Lance firing on this Leman, leaving him easy back away. Wraithguard's weakness is moving targets, so always wants to keep on moving when you see them on the enemy team. The Banshee squad there on 45 HP is going to go down. Chaos Sorcerer is going to chase down that particular squad. Will force the Sword of Flame. Chaos Terminators have been called in there by Uncle. Going to be forced to teleport on out of there. Falcon still at level 1, does need to be a bit careful. Legionator is tier 3, so we should see the NG shield upgrade on that Falcon fairly soon. Such a good upgrade in tier 3, and it's so cheap, and if you've got your Falcon alive still, it's always worth getting. Plague Marine's going to have a little poke at that Falcon, forcing the Dire Avengers to continue their repairs against it. We do see a very aggressive teleport here from the Warp Spider, but he's on his own, so he's going to get interrupted when trying to do this capture here. We are going to see the NG shield upgrade here, or what's it called? The Shimmer Orb, rather. Does allow the Warp Spider to aggressively teleport onto VPs, throw down the Shimmer Orb, and prevent any sort of range damage from coming in, although he might not get a chance to make use of it. It's also getting the phase armor as well, so we could see a phase shift Eldritch, but does die before the upgrades can actually have any sort of effects in the game. We could see an aggressive push here from Wigglytuff Guild to try and get a res onto that Warp Spider Exarch.
We have 200 points.
Chaos Terminators going for the Lightning Claw upgrade here, quite surprisingly. There's a lot of melee on the field, but Terminators may not be the best, even still, with Lightning Claw upgrades to fight Seer Council and multiple Banshee squads. It can be a bit cost efficient if you do use models. Baneblade though, allowing some ground on the top side, with Paladins are going to get called in on top of the Baneblade. Paladins with their heavy melee damage are going to do quite well here, but Baneblade is lacking a bit of Guardsman support. This Guardsman squad only on 6 models, but should be able to repair and fire at these Paladins. These Paladins though, not really much to focus them down, pretty tanky. Guardsmen now being forced off. There's now no repair support for the Baneblade. The Baneblade should keep reversing back to base. Holy Ground being cast, slowing down units in the area, increasing the speed of the Paladins as well. The Lord Commissar will fall, trying to defend the Baneblade as best he can. Some Guardsmen though are going to make their way back into the fight. Paladins are on half HP, but will run over a mine as well. Overall, I believe the Beyblade should lose this fight. The Chaos Sorcerer as well for Uncle can potentially warp in the Paladins on himself, so the Paladins are fine even if they do use their teleport. Assuming the Chaos Sorcerer has that ability ready to go, Paladins going to aggressively teleport. The Chimera could be the next target hit. Going to take some rear armor hits, one more swing, and it's going to go down. 2 vehicles down there for outside. Guardsmen are going to beat the target as well. Meanwhile, on the bottom side of the map, we do have a big push coming in. We do actually have the Demon Armor there. In fact, we have 3 Executioner turrets being placed there. 2 from Demons and 1 from a heavy turret. Demon Armor allowing units to heal inside the cloud, or inside the bubble, I believe. Or just increases range damage rather. Where that heal came in from, it must have been a med pack from the Lord General said then. We do have a bit of a flank coming in here from Legionnaires. The Falcon Energy Shield has been purchased, but I'm not sure it can still stand up though. This army against 2 Executioner Lehman Russes is going to struggle. The Bright Lance Weapons team getting jumps on there by some Chaos Terminators. Actually going to be able to take down the squad. A rocket run as well, going to catch out some Blade Marines there. 1 Lehman though, getting very low. Bright Lance needs 1 more shot. Fire Prism is low, but if it gets that 1 shot it needs, it is going to miss 54 HP. Wraithguard are trying to push on through, but the heavy infantry type on these Wraithguard is really ill-equipped to try and fight all these Executioner cannons, and it's going to be a triple cap for Emperor's Loyalists. They could turn the game around there with this triple cap. They are still behind 150 odd VPs, 180 VPs rather. This for Stormtroopers still alive, and we do have the Strike Squad level 4 now, but this triple cap against them is going to be fairly brutal, especially losing the Baneblade and the Paladins still on the field, and some Terminators going to approach the field soon. These Paladins, if you put them behind or between the buildings there, they will regen a bit quicker. If this works on any sort of 3v3 map or any 2v2 map even for that matter, if the bases are close enough, you can put them between allied bases to get the healing from both bases at the same time. It does allow you to get back on the field much quicker. Turret will fall. Fire Prisms having immense range will be able to easily make short work of that. However, the Lehmans are still going to be an issue. There's actually going to be a 3rd Lehman coming here for Abraham. We should see a repair bunker come in, as 1 Guardsman squad is not going to be enough to sustain repairs on all 3 at the same time. In fact, this particular one has still been fairly unhealthy for quite some time now. A repair bunker could be placed down on the lower ground. You need to be careful of your opponent capturing it. It will force you to either kill the bunker itself, or your ally, or your enemy, sorry, is going to have repairs, which is not a good thing. Do have a Lehman coming in for outside. We also have a Land Raider Phobos for Uncle as well. A lot of vehicles coming in into this game. Meanwhile, Imperium Man just opting for very heavy infantry with Paladins and Terminators. Does have his brother Captain fully kitted out, but I believe this is all tier 1 war gear though, the Nemesis Force Sword and the Blessed Aegis. No tier 3 war gear for Brother Captain as of yet. Could always see the Holy Armor of Titan does grant the Brother Captain invulnerability for about 10 seconds. That Fire Prism though taking a lot of rear armor damage. These Paladins making very short work of it. They are able to run through terrain and able to get the swings they need to finish it off. Terminators are going to try and jump onto the Falcon, but Terminators with their halberds are not effective against vehicles. They only deal power melee damage. Best off focusing down these Dire Avengers. Do have the teleport charge to going onto that Falcon. Are going to try and tie up this Lehman, but Lehman isn't going to care too much about it. The Executioner Cannon though is going to deal a great amount of damage to them, especially when they're grouped up like that in such a small area. Lehman trying to kite as best as possible. We're trying to reverse around, taking every corner it possibly can. These Terminators though getting very unhealthy at this point. Lehman though is a little bit stuck. He's trying to path out as best it can, but is unable to do so. The army though is taking the amount of damage that 1 Terminator model does fall. Paladins will need to be careful. The Paladins do not have retreats. They can teleport out of there and will be forced to walk away, but Wigglytuff Guild may decide to try and chase a bit further. These triple Lehman Rust is going to be a bit too much, going to overwhelm that Fire Prism. A Bright Lance is firing away. Crackshot is available for the Warp Spider to use onto the Bright Lance, but it's not going to come in time. This could be a rocket run as well. It's actually just going to be a creeping Basilisk barrage. Terminators need to pull back there unless they want to take friendly fire damage. Paladins and Terminators do make it out alive. One Terminator model did fall down, but they're going to have to spend a bit of time in base healing back up, and Warp Spider trying to make some sneaky plays. There is actually a Lehman parked here as well, which might be able to force Warp Spider off. We will see the Shimmer Orb come in from the Warp Spider to prevent any sort of range damage, but I'm not 100% sure it will block the Executioner turret due to it dealing splash damage hitting the ground. Land Raider Phobos though making short work of that Falcon. Getting 2 rear armor hits straight away. The Falcon did not have his energy shield enabled either. And Emperor's Loyalists are actually going to overtake in VPs very shortly. They've been on triple cap for a while. It's currently a 2-0 cap against them, or for them rather. 135 VPs. They're going to tie up the score. Looks like the Lehman was able to force off that Warp Spider, who's down to 100 HP. With the Land Raider Phobos and the army of Lehmans down on the bottom side of the map, it's going to be a very difficult position for Wigglytuff Guild to push. To have a Lehman parked on the top side, but that does not matter if you have the 2 VPs at the bottom, because you can slowly bleed your opponent dry. Land Raider Phobos getting outranged there by the Fire Prism, but with a lack of vision on Eldar's side, it's going to be very difficult to actually make use of that excessive range. Banshee's leading the charge though. The Exarch dies before it gains combat, and that is a lot of damage coming in. It's actually going to be a subjugated Seer Council that jump onto the retreat path of these Banshees. Seer Council are quite deep here. There's a lot of splash damage coming in against these Heretics and Guardsmen. Seer Council deep into enemy territory are going to be forced off overall. And there's actually going to be a 4th Lehman there. There's 2 Lehmans armed with Executioners, and we're going to have 2 with the Vanquisher Cannon as well. So we're going to have a nice mix of anti-infantry and anti-vehicular damage. Meanwhile, on the top side of the map, we do have Ordo Malleus pushing in hard. Holy Ground has been cast. We do also have the last cannon firing away. It's not the last cannon, but the conversion beam. Paladins already using their teleport, going to be unsuccessful in trying to chase this Lehman all the way over. If another Lehman is path blocking, the Lehman's blocking the Lehman! Is going to fall. These Paladins will finish it off. There's one Lehman getting his brethren killed there. Another Executioner turret is going to come in, and Lehman's going to try and kite away as best he can, but it's not going to be enough. Wigglytuff Guild, his army is looking very meek in comparison. Even having interceptors on the map as well. In fact, that's not interceptors, sorry, that is a strike squad. Wigglytuff Guild trying to push in on the bottom side once again. Wraith Guard are going to fall. Seer Council very low on 3 out of 5 members. Unable to win in melee combat there, or unable to get into melee combat. Conversion Beam is going to start firing away there, but that Executioner is just tearing up the squad. They are sitting ducks at the moment, but the Paladins are going to start approaching. Purgation Squad is going to go down. We do have an Eldritch Storm coming in. That Strike Squad is going to die to that. However, the Lehman is also going to fall down. Holy Ground being cast once again by these Paladins. They get the swings they need and will finish off that Lehman outside. His army is now lacking heavily. Guardsmen are falling, and things look like they're going to be over for Wigglytuff Guild in a second. Outside with no army nearly, only with a couple of Guardsmen remaining. An Eldritch Storm, it has been cast as well onto Abraham's Lehmans, but all 4 Lehmans remain alive. Bright Lance trying to do what it can. Fire Prism is joining the fray, but Lehmans on the front line are fairly healthy. Phase Shift has been cast as well. Going to prevent either side from getting a cap, but it's still a 1-0 cap though for Emperor's Loyalists. They are going to take game 3 against Wigglytuff Guild. These Lehmans just advancing further forward. GG has been called. And in game number 3, Emperor's Loyalists will earn themselves a point after losing games 1 and 2.